Do, 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 do. Welcome to the jungle. Good morning, Kitty Coo. Welcome to the Crime Recap Show. Good morning. Good morning, Sprinkled Donut. I hope that you both are doing well. Good morning, Gayla. Welcome to this morning's coffee brew. I hope you are having a terrific week. Hope you have a terrific weekend as well. Give it a couple minutes for everybody to get join into the stream. Boy, that was a learning experience. So I got back and got ready to do the streams, just to find out that YouTube on their end decides that they do no longer support certain OBS software anymore. I'm like, oh, that's great. That's lovely. So I had to switch my streaming software to a new one, so it will work and it will actually notify people when I go live and when I'm doing streams. I'm doing good. How was your vacation? Oh, wait, to tell when everyone gets here. Good morning, Gianna Marie. Welcome to this morning's coffee brew. To answer your question, Kitty Q, I had a great vacation. It was so relaxing. The first 2 days, I was completely off the grid. The only electricity that they have at the cabin that I was at is like solar, and then they have like a battery bank system where the solar powers the battery bank. So there's like 2 lights in the entire cabin. I woke up in the morning after the first night, and there were a whole bunch of elk, maybe like 10 yards from the front door of the cabin. I walked out on the porch, and they're just looking at me. They just kept on eating, but it was so nice just to get away, and you have to do it. Everybody needs to do it. You don't necessarily have to go to a cabin, but get away from the madness of life. Even if you just sit and meditate, find some place that's happy and relaxing. But it was so good. Then I we had the golf tournament. After the during the golf tournament, I got to see a lot of friends that I only see maybe once or twice a year, because everybody's kind of dispersed over the years to different states and different locations across the states. So I don't get to see them as much as I used to. So we did pretty good in the tournament. We ended up taking 5th overall. I won. The first day I won long drive, KP the first day. Second day I won both long drives and KP. Overall, I shot 18 over for both days. I mean, I could have done better, but just wasn't my week. But I had a lot of fun. That's what's important. We raised a lot of money for charity. All right, let's get this party started. Welcome to this morning's coffee brew. Crime Recap Show, everyone, where we spill the beans on crimes, both hot and cold. This isn't your grandma's recap show, unless she's into unsolved mysteries with a quirky, humor that I have. In which case, props to her. Here you'll get today's top stories, dive into chilling cold cases, and explore those sneaky page 2 stories that everyone else seems to miss. So grab your cup of joe and join us as we serve up a steaming mug of mystery with a dash of comedy on the side. Some of the content you're about to see may be disturbing in nature. These stories may have received some local media coverage, but not widely reported on a national level. Each story presented here is supported by at least 4 sources to ensure the accuracy of the information. Whenever possible, I will provide links to each story and credit the individuals who submitted them for the coverage during this presentation. Please note that there may or may not be a little window in the segment allowing for more in-depth discussion. In fact, without my ugly mug in the way. Story number 1. How dumb can you be? Woman climbed the fence at the Jersey Kohansky Zoo. I think that's how you pronounce it. Kohansky. All right, I don't know how to pronounce that. Into the closure with 2 500-pound tigers. Is seen in a video footage that this actual still shot is taken from, luring the tigers over to her with a waving hand. Then petting each tiger, then reaching into her pocket where she retrieves her cell phone and takes out took what looked like a series of selfies. These are 2 500-pound juvenile tigers. Lucky for her, both tigers had been fed just 30 minutes prior. These tigers were both born in 2016. If they had not been fed 30 minutes prior to her climbing the fence and into the enclosure, they would have ripped her to pieces. But she did it all for what it looks like, snapshots of her in the enclosure for, I don't know, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever. But it looks like she clearly took at least a couple photos where she turned her back and her head away from the tiger, which is a sign, again, to a tiger, to a juvenile tiger, that you're more likely that you're wanting to play. You're not aggressive, but all the same, it's a dumb idea to do. This is the world we live in. People do the dumbest things for selfies without thinking about what might have happened. Not only is this an incredibly stupid thing to do, it's also illegal. Not only under the city ordinances, it's also under the ordinances and laws of the state of New Jersey. For her to climb into the enclosure. The police will find her. She's on. I think it said that there was like almost a 40-minute total video of her, and you can't see it in the still photo that I posted, but there's very good footage of her in her face and the car she actually arrived in at the zoo. So they know all of that and where she is. And good morning, Francie. But go back. Oh, went too far. But she's right smack in the middle, right behind the tiger, and that is an 8.5-foot metal fence, not like a chain link fence. It's made out of like actual rebar fences behind her with metal poles. She climbed up. She stepped over a fence that you can see here. That in this photo, that's about 6 feet tall. She climbed over that and then went about 20 feet, into the enclosure area where it says, past the sign there, clearly says, do not climb the fence. And then she climbed over the big fence to get into the enclosure. That is stupid. Story number 2. 1 mile down, one more victim. Former long-haul truck driver Warren Luther Alexander, who is currently age 73, this photo is from last week, has been arrested in a series of cold case murders out of California that took place between 1973 and 1977. He was arrested in Mississippi and now will be arraigned on charges and then have a formal hearing on extradition back to California. He was positively connected to the 3 strangulations in California via DNA. The 3 known victims that he is connected to, his DNA was found on, are the following: Kimberly Fritz, who was age 18 at the time of her death; Lorraine Rodriguez, age 21; Velvet Sanchez, age 31. The FBI said in the news release that they are looking into unsolved cases in other states that have the same MO as these 3 victims and are very similar to other cold cases. If Warren Luther Alexander is the killer, he would just be the 8th serial killer caught in the past 2 years, ladies and gentlemen, using DNA and familial DNA. That is DNA where they don't have familial DNA, is where they have the profile of a family member that is connected, via DNA to the perpetrator, and they work backwards from so maybe it's somebody who in the family put in a 23andMe test or one of the other genealogical DNA tests. Warren is presumed innocent until proven guilty by the court of law and not in the court of public opinion. It's a long shot in the dark, but can you help? Do you know this man? There is some information from the press release that he had several former girlfriends across the country that he was abusive to. So again, you can leave a tip if you know anything, and that is the FBI tip line. You can remain anonymous. This story was sent to me while I was on vacation by our friend Carol, who I don't know if she's in the stream right now because I haven't looked at the comment section. I'm sorry. But back up here so you can see his face again. This is Warren Luther Alexander. Before he went bald, and I'm presuming that he shaves his head because he does have a little bit of a shadow in his first court appearance of a hair along the sides. But he had brown hair, kind of like a sandy brown hair, before he lost his hair and then decided to shave it. And same thing with these, and the oldest photo to the newest photo, he's always had like this goatee thing, or I don't know what they call it, where it's just hair on the chin. It's like a half a goatee, but he's always had some type of facial hair going back to the 70s. Again, this is in blue there. You may be able to right now, if you know anything about him or you know him, or maybe you dated him at some point between 1973, 77 to now. He was just arrested this past week. Story number 3. Drugstore cowgirl strikes. This story is about the late, great Matthew Perry. Did the alleged ketamine queen strike again? In a plea agreement of his friend Matthew, Eric Fleming, that Josephine, however you Shanghai, had dealt drugs to Mr. Perry before, and his name was saved as Chandler in the their comment in the contacts of the cell phone. However, text messages between the two had been deleted at some point prior to the law enforcement getting a hold of the cell phone. But the text messages were retrieved as part of the investigation into Mr. Perry's death and charges being filed. According to the Associated Press, that's AP news article released August 22nd, so 2 days ago. The ketamine queen is also known in the LA area and in around the motion picture studios apparently the ketamine queen, or the Q, was someone that they knew. A lot of people knew about, because the KQ could get just about anything for anyone, and may have connected to additional overdose and deaths. Law enforcement would not say at this time if additional charges will be filed against either Eric Fleming or Josephine Shanghai. However, doing a little digging on my own, I was able to find 3 other deaths and 3 overdoses where someone lived, but they overdosed, in the 24-month period leading up to Mr. Perry's overdose and death. That were linked to either ketamine or methamphetamine. That were in it. These people were all 6 of those 3 deaths and 3 overdoses were all people who either worked in the music, not music, but movie industry. They were either actors or they were people who worked behind the camera. Are they connected to Justine? This is not 100% proven, but the same circle of death. More research is needed. This is a story that I found interesting. Again, I found this on my own. This was not suggested by anyone. But I've been digging into it, to see if there is any connection between the 3 deaths and either Eric or Jasvine. All right, question of the week is: I recently came across. This is from Kerner, and I've removed the rest of the person's name. But I recently came across your video on Chris Watts, and I may not agree with your take on Nicole Kissinger. I would like to ask though, where is she now? I hope you don't mind me emailing you. That is the question of the week from a viewer. And my response is I don't have a clue where Nicole Kissinger is currently. Last time I tracked her down, she was living in the Denver area underneath an assumed name. I heard rumors, I can't prove them, and that she had changed her name and had moved to California after getting a nose job. I cannot confirm that at all. It's just a rumor that has been all over the internet. Again, thank you for the question, and I don't mind at all if you send it in. That's why my email address is on, and connected to my YouTube channel, so people can ask questions. All right, fake or real? And good morning, Mel. Enablers? Yeah, a lot of people do, Mel. A lot of people do. Fake or real? I'm going to present you 2 stories. One story is real. The other is absolutely fake. And your job is to decide which one of the 2 stories is actually real. Both of these stories have been widely shared on the internet. They may have been recently, maybe they were a year ago, but at some point they had a heck of a lot of traffic. But again, one is 100% fake and the other one is real. Your job is to tell me which one of the 2 stories is real. Story number 1. Ryan M. was arrested recently after he posted a video on Facebook admitting when he was 16 years old, him and some friends had committed a hate crime against a man that they believed was gay. In the video, he named people involved and gave dates. Ryan is now 37 years of age and has agreed to take a plea deal to a lesser charge without the enhancement of a hate crime. As the plea deal is set, he will do 12 days in jail, pay an $800 fine that doesn't count attorneys, and do 200 hours of community service. Is this the real story, or is the next one the real story? Story number 2, Oxford, Mississippi. Police say the main street and the connecting street that goes to campus are open again. Additionally, they do not need any help cleaning up dozens of cases of beer in cans and bottles that fell out of the back of a delivery truck. The beer distributor later that day said that the cans and cases of unbroken bottles of beer will be sold at a discount soon. Midday on the same day of the spill, 24 male college students had lined up to buy the discounted beer with lawn chairs and sleeping bags. Which one of the two is the real story? The hate crime and the plea agreement after a Facebook confession, or story number two, college students lining up to buy discounted beer from a beer distributor after it fell out of a delivery truck. Which one of the two stories is real? Just put in the comment section one or two. One or two. All you need to do is say which one is the real story. Story number one or story number two. Heather, good morning, Heather. I hope you had a wonderful week. Heather is going with story number one is real. Kitty Q is going two real. I'm going with two. Francie, I'm guessing one is real. All right. The answer to which story is real is story number two. Story number two is real, and this is a link to the actual article from the Associated Press. If you want to click on that and read that later, if you're watching it afterwards or whatever you need, maybe copy and paste in another window. I am doing fine, Heather. Thank you for asking. I hope you are doing great as well. But story number two is real. Now, the first one about the hate crime, Ryan M. Ryan M is actually a well-known YouTube creator. He started off doing YouTube videos. I think he was 11, maybe 13 years old, somewhere in there. And the story was a rumor that got spread on the internet that at the age of 16, he wasn't even 16 years of age when the story started spreading on the internet that he was involved in a hate crime at the age of 16, and that him and some friends had done it, and he had confessed to the whole thing on a Facebook Live. It wasn't true. He wasn't even 16 when the story came out. He was shot just shy of his 16th birthday, in fact. But that's the fake story that, and people widely shared it, and it's a link because it was posted on like a blog, and the blog itself of this person, they make up fake stories. They take stories from like the Onion News Network, and it's kind of like satire like that. But and they posted a story to this blog that looks like a news site, and people kept on referring to it as real because it looked like it was coming from a news site. My doggy kept me from hearing the whole thing. Yeah, well, Gayla, you're correct. Story number two was the correct one. Bonjour. That's the internet, though, for you. People make up things constantly. But before I leave, though, I gotta tell you guys something. This is interesting just to me. It may have no interest to you at all. But every year I take this trip, the third week in August, and I go and I relax and clear my mind for a couple of days, and then I go play in this golf tournament. But every year that I've done this, while I'm gone, and every year that I do it, I always have content uploaded to YouTube, so it's scheduled to be released as I'm actually gone for those 4 or 5 days. Well, every year that I'm gone, I've always lost subscribers. People have just unsubscribed to me, and 50 to 100, maybe, in 1 year I lost 200 while I was gone. You never understand why. It just always seems to happen. And now I'm talking not 1 year or 2 years, but at least 6 years in a row. Every year that I was gone, I lost subscribers, except for this year. This year, I came back and I found that I had gained 155 new subscribers while I was gone. That's the first time ever that has happened. Even in the heyday, of my channel, which I don't really see it like, you have your ebb and flow, you have your ups and your downs, but I just found it interesting, at least for myself, to gain 155 new subscribers while I'm gone. If you're here now and you're listening or you're in the comment section and you're new to my channel in the past week, welcome to 411 Now. I'm kind of quirky, in the aspects. I throw a little bit of jabs here and there, but I don't dive into the drama or fighting against other creators or any of that that malarkey. I have a terrific community here, and I'm glad that you've joined. And good morning, Gemma. I hope that you're doing well. I've got myself some videos of yours that I need to catch up on. Beer truck spill, nothing works. Try going to the Associated Press, Francie, because the article is from the Associated Press. On your screen there, you can search apnews.com and then put in beer spill, Oxford, Mississippi. Love your channel and your content. Well, thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you're here with us. I hope that if you ever have an issue, someone ever gives you a hard time or pushes you the wrong way, reach out and contact me. My email address is on my YouTube channel. There is a greater than, lesser than symbol that's next to when you pull up my actual channel. If you hit that, it'll bring up a drop-down menu of my social media contacts, and at the bottom there's an email address right there. But that's for anybody. If I find out that somebody is doing something inappropriate or making you feel uncomfortable, I'll get rid of them. I'll block them. I'll ban them. They're out of here. 86 their asses so fast that they don't even know it's coming. I don't put up with it. Neither do my mods. I am doing great, Jenna. I am doing great. I'm so refreshed. Thank you, Gemma. 411nowbusiness@gmail.com. You'll go to the beer story after this. I'm not surprised. When I was in college, we used to drive over to Moscow, Idaho, to buy beer. That's where the 4 college students were murdered. The Idaho 4. Actually, about, I would say, maybe 5 blocks from where their house was, because you go, they were living on campus, but you instead of taking that right there to go to their street, you go past it about 2 blocks, and then you take a left right off of Main Street, and that's where the beer distributor is. We used to eat on Main Street, eat at this restaurant called Sputnik. And then we would go to Galucci's and have fishbowl beers. I'm not kidding. They used to bring you a beer in a fishbowl. But we used to go over there to Moscow, Idaho, and to buy beer because it was cheaper, because the taxes were cheaper. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. I saw that. Thank you very much. My ex used to work at Budweiser in the warehouse. Yeah. I had a friend who actually used to work for Ambev. That's the parent company of Budweiser, Ambev. He used to be an assistant brewmaster. That was down, I want to say Portland, Vancouver, Washington, somewhere down there. I know he lived in Vancouver, so I don't think it was in the same city though. It could have been across the border in Portland that he worked there. He did that for quite a few years, and then he got a job working as a subcontractor for the federal government. What a beer in a fishbowl, right? It was a back in the 80s, 90s. It was a different time, a much different time than it is now. I mean, when I went to school at Washington State University, the campus was. I mean, you had your Greek row, then you had your on campus dormitories, and then you had a couple businesses on campus. We had a really good Seventh Day Adventist restaurant there, and they had like a library. But the Seventh Day Adventist restaurant was 100% vegan food, and you think to yourself, a lot of people have a negative connotation to vegan food, but this stuff was the best, and you wouldn't even know that it was vegan, most of it. But they used to have a policy: if you worked, 5 hours, you got a free meal. And a poor college student, I'm down for that. I'd volunteer for 5 hours. Or wash dishes, clean tables, do whatever they need, or work in the library. They had like a research library next to it. But this was all in the basement of the Seventh Day Adventist Church. You're using YouTube, your cell phone to use the YouTube at the moment, as my laptop has officially died. Oh, I'm sorry, but yeah, it was a much different town than now. Pullman in Moscow is just, it's so much bigger than it used to be. At least when I went to school there. Heck, you can Arby's restaurant there in Pullman, Washington. You can go through the drive-through and you can buy beer in the drive-through at Arby's. Researching laptop prices. Well, it depends on what you need, Gemma. For my son, I bought him a Chromebook. It seems to work out for what he wants. He does a lot of video editing on it, so he likes it. But Chromebooks don't have all the features of a regular laptop. But good luck. Hope you find something reasonable. And that works for you. I'm getting so good at replacing the screens on cell phones and tablets. I probably replaced the iPad screen on my son's tablet 4 times. I did my wife's cell phone before they left. My wife and my son and my mother-in-law all went on vacation yesterday. They're down in Oregon. We're going to see if I could get them to stop by, Boring, but they're not going that far west. They're staying down in the Salem, Eugene area. Going to see if they could stop by and see Zelda. I need it for streaming and video making. Yeah. Now a lot of the laptops and Chromebooks and stuff like that, the cameras suck on them, and so does the audio. So I bought an external camera and mic for my son. I have a couple of his old mics over here. The Rode mic. Rode is the name of the company microphone. My kids have gaming laptops. They are expensive. It's so expensive, it's crazy. Yeah. No, they get up there, Kitty Q. I know. One of the first gaming laptops I bought for my daughter back when she was, I think she was 17 or 18. I bought her Alienware um, gaming laptop. Wow, it was like $2,700 for a laptop, for a gaming laptop. She still has it, still works. You know, she's had to upgrade the the RAM and stuff like that, and the hard drive a couple of times. Now she has an external SSD or something like that. I have no idea what the hell I'm even talking about when it comes to that stuff. I know how much I spend on stuff. That's about all I know. It gets up there. I hope you. I hope my cousin is able to is a tech person. Help you. Well, I hope so. That sounds great. If you can find somebody out that you trust and it can help you, who knows the ins and outs of things. Yeah, I'm lucky if I can. I've got two computers. One that I use for YouTube and for video editing, but these are actual PCs. And the other one is just one I do research on. They're completely separate. Like one's business and one's personal. The personal one is what I use for research and that I actually use when I log in and watch videos or do whatever on. But I keep the two computers separate. Yes, the one cost 2K and the other 4K. It's insane. Yeah, it gets up there and it gets really insane really quick. Yeah, they can't just game on a regular laptop. That processor and refresh rate and all that stuff. That's what matters. That's how I found Linus Tech Tips. That's the YouTube channel, Linus Tech Tips. LTT is the name. I think it's the name of the channel, LTT. I still watch it every once in a while. What's Sunday's trivia on? Gianna Marie wants to know. Killer nurses, angels, and angels of death from around the world. This was suggested by Cement Shoes. Suggested it on, I think it was August 3rd. He Cement Shoes suggested it. So, but killer nurses, angels of death. There's I think 4 from the United States, and I picked like 4 from Great Britain. So it's a little bit of a mixture of the two, but it's more the international. I hope you can be there. Again, that's tomorrow night. It's 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 o'clock Mountain, or 7 o'clock East Coast of the United States. You have to judge accordingly to your time zone. If you're in Central or wherever, or if you're overseas. I wonder if it's true that Chris Watts is playing chess in prison. I didn't think he would be smart enough. Yeah, they taught chimpanzees to play checkers, so maybe they can, somebody could teach him chess. She's been given 5 life sentences. Just had a UK nurse, Lucy Ledbetter. Lucy is in the trivia, Gemma. She's been given 5 life sentences. That is true. That'd be 12 midnight for you. Yeah, as my channel has grown over the years, I occasionally, not a lot, but maybe once a month, I always go through my subscriber list and I check the, I click on their names and I see if they have YouTube channels and I watch, their content. There are a lot of people out there. It looks like they took off like a rising star and they have like 15, 20,000 subscribers. but they haven't posted anything in like 2 to 5 years. They just gave up for some reason, whatever. But at the same time, after I do that, I always check to see where, growth wise, what countries are watching the most, so I can, change, if I need to, times, that I have trivia or when I have this morning show. The greatest amount of growth I've had is in Canada and in the, Great Britain, by far. Canada and Great Britain. I saw a video about Lucy last year. She's a real piece of work. She really is, Heather. She had told people apparently she plans to appeal. I believe it. My cousin is a pediatric neurosurgeon and specializes in saving newborn babies. All the kudos to your cousin, Gayla. My son, little man, Taco, he got a million different nicknames, but he was a preemie, and he didn't have a neurosurgeon, didn't have to have surgery or anything, but he spent the first 2.5 months in the NICU. We got to know some parents, you don't make really close, connections unless you want to, go down a long, hard road with people. But we know of a couple parents who, their children didn't survive the NICU unit, but at the same time though, one of my son's best friends, Thomas, he was born a week prior to my son, and they're still best friends to this day. I hope Chris Watts does nothing in prison other than to be miserable. Oh, he's pretty miserable. Yeah, I know, Gemma. Yeah, you got to work on that though. You got to get sleep. You got to find that way to, to let it all go and rejuvenate your mind. Neonatal surgeon will. Yeah, my heart goes out to anybody, who works, with preemies, in NICU or, neurosurgeon. I mean, people don't give them enough credit in my mind, for what they do. My son was a preemie. He lived for 2 months and 18 days. Oh, I'm so sorry, Heather, that you lost your son. My heart goes out to you, sweetheart. Really does. Excuse me. I mean to cough into the microphone there. Where do you get your Christopher Watts news? Multiple different places. Gianna Marie. Some of it I get from the Associated Press and starts there. And then if something comes up on him in that aspect, then I try to find, at least 3 different sources. I know some people who work in the corrections department in the state of Wisconsin. So I reach out to them if something is really truly, newsworthy and I want to really know about it. I reach out to them. There's multiple different ways to answer your question. What was the kind of surgeon your little taco had? My little taco didn't have any surgeries, Mel. I was just saying that my heart goes out to those who work in the in NICU in neurosurgery. Gayla said that her cousin is a neurosurgeon in the NICU. Now I'm all tongue tied. But my little man has had no surgeries at all. Knock on wood. So far, he hasn't thrown himself out of a second-story window yet. My daughter did. She split the roof of her mouth open. She had surgery for that. But She threw herself out of a tree onto a picnic table. Didn't quite make the picnic table, but her arm did. She had surgery for that. It's coming. We all know it is. My son is just a little daredevil, like the song says. Keep your hands and arms inside the ride at all times. But Earl was a daredevil. How's the family? Mel asks. My family is doing great. They're all on vacation right now. It's just me right now. I'm home. My daughter's off working. She's not in town, but that's nothing new there. But my wife, my son, and my mother-in-law all went out of town. They won't be back until Sunday late. So you're bashing it? Ooh. I don't know what bashing is. Like Bachelorette, something like that. I'm not going to be home. I've got a lot of stuff I have to get done. And eventually I have to fix my golf cart. It's one of those things on the honey to do list that I haven't gotten to yet. Gayla says my cousin performed surgery on babies in vitro. It's what it's called. Also, he separated conjoined twins, specialized in respiratory issues with newborns. Little man, we've got his pictures from the NICU unit and his little footprint. His little foot was like that big. I've got a nephew staying at mine tonight. It's been ages since he's stayed with me, so we're going to relax and watch TV and have snacks. That sounds like a great day right there. Oh, okay. No, we have all the beads and stuff like that they got another letter of a bead for a bracelet for every day and every step that. But when he was born, he was on a respirator for a while. He was so blue. Mm. If Francie's thinking about getting her first tattoo, does it hurt? Francie, the answer to that question is it all really depends upon where you get it on your body and your tolerance for the entire thing. There are certain parts of the body that are definitely a lot more sensitive to pain. To People describe it in different ways, but the best thing I can say is, have you ever poked yourself with a thumbtack? Just kind of that feeling of like that sharp little point. Now, I mean, not like jab the whole thing into your finger, or your hand or leg or wherever, but it's a mild pain. Will, are you still interested in reading my poem? Yes, Mel, I am very interested in reading your poem. You can email it to me. Gianna Marie is interested in reading it as well. And your name is Matty. But if that's what you decide to do, Francie, to actually go through and have a tattoo, find a tattoo artist that you can build a business relationship with. Don't just walk in off the street and say, "Give me a tattoo," and this is where I want it. Build one that build that trust, and it's a lot better of an experience if you can build the trust with someone. Well, thank you, Mel. I appreciate it. Send it my way. Your husband doesn't like your tattoos, Kitty Q? Yeah. My wife has a couple, like on the inside of her wrist area here on the one hand. She's got one on her back shoulder blade. My daughter has three, but I got more than what you can see here. Besides, I got my arms, tattoos on both arms, shoulder here, shoulder on the other side. Got one on my back, one on my leg, upper hip area. I don't regret any of them. This one, the sleeve on this arm is not finished. I never got around to finishing it. Also, if you see someone who has a really nice tattoo, ask them where to go. That's a great advice, Kitty Q. Great advice. Some tattoos are attractive, however, you can overdo it. Oh, I've seen it. I have a friend, Gala. If so many people are convinced that he must be like some kind of like ex-con or something, because from underneath the chin all the way around, from there down, everything on his body is tattooed. It's all individual, artistic work. On his back, he's got two giant tattoos of samurais on his back, and then it goes the set. Then the whole motif comes around onto his chest. But he does. A lot of people assume that he's some kind of felon, or ex-con or something. And he's never even had a traffic ticket, as far as I know. He doesn't like tattoos in general, but mine. I had mine before you guys got married. Wondering how to select an image? Depends on what you like, Francie. I mean, when it comes down to it, tattoos it's just another expression of who you are and what you want. Travis Barker? No. Wow, that's a lot of ink. Yeah, but Mel, it took my friend, I want to say 3 years, that for the back and for the shoulder, the rest of it coming underneath there. He said some of the most sensitive and the areas of his bodies that hurt the most was the armpits on both sides, and then the area along the neck here. All this on him. That's the most. It was the most sensitive areas for him. Do some thinking. Your hubby doesn't like them either. You don't have any. Wow, I thought for sure you'd be totally tatted up, Gala. Couple of Smith and Wessons crossing, and by the back of your shoulder blade. Live or die. Department of Corrections across the front. I thought for sure you would have that. It's body art. So they say. It is. It's exactly what it is. It's body art. Excuse me. When you go to a tattoo shop, they should have books of their art. Yeah. figure out what you want first and Google the image, and also get some good ideas. Yeah, my daughter, and my mother-in-law all got the same tattoo on the inside of their wrist here, and to memorialize the passing of my daughter's grandmother. They got her name in inside of a rose with thorns. Most of my female deputy friends have them. My father-in-law retired from Multnomah County Sheriff's Department. He doesn't have any tattoos at all, or at least none that I know of. But he's like he believes for religious reasons that his body is his temple. So getting a tattoo is a desecration of your temple. But that's religious for him. To each their own. Tattoos are not for everyone. Real thing in your house? So do I. I actually met a guy who had he had the Declaration of Independence, like tattooed on his forearms, or was it like the Second Amendment on one, and then he had the like the Declaration of Independence tattooed. Now that had to take some time because it wrapped around it. You have to size that down, and then it looked really nice, but he had the Second Amendment on one, and it was the Constitution on the other. But yeah, I met him at a gun show. Don't go to too many of those. They don't have them around here as much as they used to. I always wanted a half sleeve, but I'm getting too old now. Yeah. Just think of it this way, Sprinkle Done It. If you get one now, it won't fade that much before maybe the end of your existence on this plane. Think of it that way. I mean, I got these back 04, so 20 years ago. They can get costly though. That's for darn sure. Definitely costly. Do you bleed getting a tattoo? Uh, it all depends upon the artist and everything else. You're not going to like excessively bleed, but yes. If you Google the layers of skin on the human body, you can actually see the different epidermal layers and everything else. And there is blood, in between them, because that's what keeps us, our skin alive and pliable. That and everything else, but you do some. I mean, you shouldn't, unless the artist is complete whack job and goes too deep, because all they're doing is taking the ink. So you have your multiple layers of skin. They're just taking that ink and moving it from the outside down into the below the next layer. Where the ink actually is. I just bought my newborn baby great grandson a Second Amendment onesie. Oh, that's cute. Congratulations, Gayla, on great grandson. Wow. Hmm. I don't know if I'm ever going to, unless my son has, children. I don't think my daughter, she has any interest at all in ever having children. It's just her and her boyfriend. They don't. It's not something that's in the cards for them right now. But you never know. I mean, maybe someday my son will have children. Right? None of us are permanent. None of us get out of this life alive. None of us. And each and every one of us are individually responsible for our own happiness. People can make you miserable, but you are the one that's in charge of your happiness. If you decide to be around miserable people, they're going to make you miserable. I choose to be happy. That's just how I live. People, they hold in all the anger and bitterness and resentment for other people and I watch them all die off young, or they're old and miserable and they don't have any friends left because nobody wants to be around them because they're miserable. Cement Shoes, good morning. We were just talking about you. Are your ears burning? Now the subject came up. What is tomorrow night's trivia? And I telling everybody that the tomorrow night's trivia is on killer nurses, and it was suggested by you, Cement Shoes. I think it was August 3rd, but I didn't write it down. That when you made the suggestion, I should start doing that though. Write down, the date, of when it was suggested. I always write down who suggested it. We now have 5 generations living in my family. My mom is 92 and is a great, great, great grandmother. Wow. 5 generations. My kids got me a short that says, roses are red, violets are blue. I live my pew, pew, pew. Oh, it's on a shirt? Well, that's cool. Yeah, I can't remember who it was. Somebody sent me an email after the last live stream I did, where I said that I was going to be bringing my concealed carry with me when I went to the cabin. It's off the grid, and how irresponsible it would be for me to bring something like that later on to like a golf tournament. And because that's where because I go to the cabin and then I always go to this golf tournament. How irresponsible if I mean that person's assuming that I just take it like oh, I'm done at the cabin and throw it on the dashboard of my car, and that I'm so irresponsible with it. I have a lock safe that's built into my car, that not only you can't get into, you can't take the damn safe out because it's welded to the frame of my car. So I have no idea how some people even come up with the ideas they do. They assume they hear some story in the news about some idiot, who's irresponsible with their guns, or they read the story about a couple of parents who buy a gun for a suicidal teenager and then he goes and shoots up the school. Yeah, those are just idiots. There's millions of us out there that are responsible gun owners and don't do dumb stuff like that. And I take all the precautions, afterwards. And if you were out where I was in the middle of the damn forest with no one around for like 30 miles and you need something, it could have been anything. I certainly hell ain't going out there by myself to that cabin without some protection. That's just insane. Sometimes they don't know how responsible most of us are. Yeah. And likewise, I don't leave, loaded guns sitting around on the coffee table for my son to pick up. But again, at the same time, though, as a parent of any child, you go through these things and you show them and you teach them that this is not a toy. This is a toy. This is not a toy. You see this, you don't play with this. You never point this at anyone unless you want to harm them. Even so you start off something as simple as like just the education, going forward. Shooting outdoors is fun, though, Will. It is. I belong to a local range here, Gala. We go out and at the range that I belong to, they have a long rifle range. They have a 22 like a plinking course, and then they have skeet shooting. But most of the time when we go there, we're at the long rifle and skeet shooting. You have to go from one to it's like three different areas. So the long range is here, the plinking course is here, and then they have what they call that, tactical. I think it's called tactical shooting, and that's where law enforcement goes to and to train. That's a whole other area. This is out in the middle of nowhere. You're too boring and irresponsible. How do we keep our guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them? That's the $1 million question, Francie. The $1 million question. I'm not joking. I told people about this, and if you think that I'm just making it up, for $40, go to pick a major metropolitan area in America. I don't care where it is. Blue state, red state, doesn't matter. For $40, go to the inner city, and I bet you I could buy a handgun for $40 in less than an hour for $40. A cheap disposable. It might be like a Jennings. It might be some Chinese made imported. It's got most likely 100% chance it's going to be stolen. It's going to have some kind of alteration like serial number removed or whatever. But it's so easy to get them on the streets. I mean, you can go. I know of two places in Chicago I could go to right now, and I guarantee you I could buy a gun faster than I could get crack. And that's insane that you can get a gun that quick and that easy in an inner city. I mean, hell, it's just probably the same thing as like in Los Angeles or Seattle or New York. You know, how do we keep guns out of the hands of those who shouldn't have them? That's the $1 million question. Without infringing upon my constitutional rights and others, constitutional rights, I don't know how. I really don't. And it has gotten to the insanity level out there. But yeah, you have to remember at the same time, though, there are millions of responsible gun owners who do everything right, and we will never, be the idiots that make the national news or your local news. It's that smaller fraction of idiots, that make everybody look like they're like, oh, you know what, we need tougher gun laws. If we needed tougher gun laws, why are they not enforcing the ones that are already on the books instead of passing tougher gun laws? I see it all the time. I go over to my buddy who's a district court judge, and I sit in his courtroom, and I see it all the time. Prosecutors dropping, felon in possession of gun charges against someone. They'll drop that, and if they plead guilty to this charge instead. I see it all the time. My granddad and 3 uncles were sharpshooters in the military. Well, that's cool. And thank you to your grandfather and your 3 uncles for their service, cement shoes. even though people in Canada are not allowed to have carry guns, we can have hunting rifles with special licenses and restrict storage laws. I know people in New Zealand. I mean, I guess their gun laws are kind of like the same. The only thing you can have there is for hunting. Me and my husband were talking yesterday about mine getting your FFL, Federal Firearms License. What are you planning on storing, Kitty Q? Well, we could all, if Kitty Q gets her FFL, then we could all use her as the in between. She can do the we buy them online. We'll go to gunbrokers.com, best damn site that I know of. I buy a lot of stuff from there, not necessarily guns, but I buy a lot of stuff from there. And we have it shipped to Kitty Q, and then we can get it from Kitty Q. She can be the go between. My husband is a law enforcement firearms instructor. Well, thank you to your husband and to yourself, Gayla, for your service to your community. Nancy Brody had a ghost gun, a 3D printed. I've seen a couple of those Smith shoes, ones that were 3D printed, but I don't know how much I would trust them or want to shoot one. I'd be afraid that the damn things would explode. But I think they made the PDF file for the 3D printed gun. I think they made it illegal. Smoke them if you got them, ladies and gentlemen. just to make the paperwork easier in shipping. I have everything that I buy. If I buy something like that from gun brokers or any of the other online sites like that, I have it shipped to a local shop here. A lot of times, before the laws got changed, at least in my area, before they got restricted, because they have some insane laws in my state when it comes to guns, even when you're out hunting, but before they all those laws got put into effect, me and my friends, we used to make, that was kind of like our side hustle, is we used to go and buy rifles at gun shows, and then turn around and flip them online, in a Facebook group or local stuff like that, and not Craigslist. Craigslist has always had restrictions on selling stuff like that. But there are people out there who I'm selling a pew pew made by Smith and Wesson. There are people who still try to do that. Doesn't sound especially reliable. I'd rather have a professional assembled gun versus a DIY gun. Yeah. And we would get discounts on things. Well, my buddy Ned has his FFL. I think you have to start, at least where we are in our state. I don't know if it's the same where you are, Kitty Q, but he had to start with the FBI. And they had to do the background check and all of that. It's just like getting your concealed carry. But there's a lot more to it, and restrictions why and how you buy, what you buy, and how you store it, and the transactions, the paperwork, the logs, everything. In my state, this is how insane Washington State is. let's say that you and your buddy or your brother, your sister, whatever, someone out over the age of 18, you're out deer hunting. In my state, they passed a law, and this is actually on the books. If you're out deer hunting and saying you need to step over a rock or a fence or something, and you hand your rifle to the other person because you need your hands to brace yourself while you're climbing over this obstacle while you're out deer hunting. In my state, I'm not joking, you have to have the paperwork for a temporary transfer of possession of that weapon. In my state, you have to have that paperwork. If I hand that rifle to you for even a minute and then you hand it back to me, we have to have that paperwork involved and show in case like someone comes popping up out of the woods and says, "Hi, I'm a game warden. Do you have your paperwork for the transfer of that weapon from him to you and then back?" That's an actual real law in my state. Nobody does it. No one. What gets a person denied from buying a gun? Criminal background would be the first thing. Mentally incompetent. Uh, yeah, you would think that these mentally ill people who are out there, and in my state, additionally, if you have a domestic violence conviction on your record, you will not be able. You have your rights, but they will not allow you to purchase it when they put your name in the system. Those things will stop you in my state. Now, that's not for every state, obviously. And in the state of Texas, I think when you get born, you're handed a gun in the state of Texas. You open a bank account, you probably still get rifles there in Texas. That used to be a real thing. I have one in my safe. It's a Oh man, they're made by Sears Roebuck. I'm trying to remember what the name of the company was, but anyways, you opened a checking account. They gave you a free rifle. This was back in the state of Wisconsin, back in like 1980. But my mom opened a checking account. I still have it, the rifle in my safe. But open a checking account, get a free rifle. You had to keep the account open for a year, and you had to keep X amount of money in the account. But felon convictions are not mentally stable. However, it depends on U.S. state. Yeah, like I said, that's what I was trying to get to, Gayla. That would deny you. U.S. citizen. You got to be a U.S. citizen too to legally purchase a gun. Arkansas has open carry. Yeah, and so does Washington State. We have open carry in our state. Anything that obscures the visibility of a gun or a rifle, it doesn't matter what it is, you have to have your concealed carry permit. Even if it's like in a holster on your hip and you're wearing a jacket that covers it, or you have an arm sling for it, you have to have a concealed carry permit. Open carry is what we have. Sorry. So that otherwise we have open carry and then we have concealed carry. I think Texas just or New Mexico just passed it, and nobody needs either one, a license for concealed or open. I might be wrong on that though. I just remember something about some state just did away, or maybe it was Florida. You don't have to have a license to conceal carry anymore. But that's the world we live in. We elect these people to political office and then they screw us in the end. Kitty Q says Kentucky is open carry. I can't stand it personally. No. I'm kind of a it doesn't bother me. I'd rather know that somebody has it in an open carry. I just don't like these people who like to push the envelope, where you can't, open carry and go into a federal facility, courthouse, or federal office complex, open carry or with anything, unless you're law enforcement, which is completely different, here. I mean, you can't go into here as a citizen, you can't go into a bar or any place that serves alcohol and have a concealed carry on you. So, but then there's those people, like, again, I was saying that they like to push the envelope. It's kind of like those people that Second Amendment auditors who love to push the envelope, and they cause confrontation because they for views. What justification do people have for carrying weapons? Well, besides Francie, it's in the Constitution. Besides that, people justified the reason for everything. Why do some men carry pocket knives everywhere they go? Why do some people carry whatever, knives, guns, bear spray, pepper spray? Each individual is up to them what their justification is. Only time I carry is when I'm going into a situation where I know I need protection because of either the individuals in that area, or I'm in the wilderness where I don't know what's lurking around the next, mulberry bush. Self-defense is another crazy world we are all living in. It is. And you never know what's going to pop off next. You never know. Seen a lot of it. I mean, hell, I was grocery shopping at in a Kroger grocery store. Everybody knows what Kroger is, or at least they should. And a crazed man with a gun came in and killed one employee, and the aisle over from me. When I heard that gunshot, I'll never forget it. When you hear a gunshot in a place that you shouldn't hear it, immediately my mind was like, no, I did not hear that. And then I heard again and again, and then I heard like a pause that felt like forever, and then there was complete pandemonium, and people was running in every direction, pointing, like they, where they thought the shooter was, which was the completely wrong direction from where it was going. And then he shot another employee. But that guy actually lived. The first one didn't. And then he just calmly put it back in his backpack and wheeled the cart out the door. And he's been found mentally incompetent to stand trial. So, excuse me. He is now at the state mental hospital and will remain there. And they do not believe that even with medication or anything else that he will ever be found competent to stand trial. So he will live out the rest of his life in that institution. Excuse me. Several items have been used to hurt or kill people, not just guns. Now, I read an interesting statistic once about how many people die from coconuts. You'd be surprised how many people around the world die every year because of coconuts. Either they fall out of trees and hit people use them and throw them at each other. I've never meant my question to be a challenge. I'm thinking of getting a gun for home protection. I didn't take your question as a challenge. I was just truthfully answering your question, Francie. what was the random wacko or disgruntled ex-employee? It was just a random wacko, cement shoes. Just a random. Apparently, he shot his roommate and killed his roommate before he went to the Kroger store, and then nobody knows. It makes absolutely no sense at all. And then afterwards, he just calmly got in his car, obeyed all traffic laws, and just started driving, in the wrong direction away from his home and everything. And nobody knows why. And he doesn't even know why he was going in that direction. His mind is absolutely cooked. But every time I walk into that store, I'm on, even to this day, I'm on a heightened, alert. You think that it shouldn't affect you, but it affects everybody. When you see or hear things like that in a place where I mean, I'm in that store 4 or 5 times, a week, every week. I'm like, now it's like every time I go there, and then the entire aisle where he killed the employee doesn't exist anymore. When they number the aisle, like, oh, this is aisle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes up and it skips number 12. So it goes 11, 13. They deleted the entire aisle where it happened. And all the products that used to be on that aisle have been moved to other ones. So it's not like they just changed the sign. They deleted the entire aisle. I order groceries delivered after that. I do a lot, cement shoes, with Instacart, because for me, delivery is a lot not necessarily cheaper, but it's a lot more convenient because we live 8 miles outside of town, and there's nothing between our community. Well, the first thing is a 7-Eleven. I mean, and it's kind of like, what does 7-Eleven have? Hot dogs, Slurpees. You might be able to pick up a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk there at a jacked up price. Generally interested in why people carry. If I did, I'd have no knowledge of when a person can legally pull out and use a gun out in the world. If you're not a gun person, for home defense, me personally, shotgun. I got a Mossberg for home defense. Pump action Mossberg shotgun. Also, get training on anything you get so you're comfortable with it. That is true. Now, for my wife, we went through several different handguns, and several different stores until we found one that fit her hand, and was comfortable, not too heavy, not too light. You have to think about all kinds of things like that when it comes to like owning, a gun. There's absolutely no reason to have something, if you're never going to be able to use it or lift it up to point it if you need to use it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I need to take off and end this morning's crime recap coffee brew. I hope that everyone has a great day, and that you are able to join us tomorrow for trivia. Again, the subject matter tomorrow is Angels of Death, Killer Nurses. This is the international edition. It's not just U.S. There's some from the U.S., some from the U.K., in here. And yes, Lucy Ledbetter is Ledby, or whatever her name is. She is in there as well. I know she's there in it. But I hope that you all have a great day if I don't see you for trivia tomorrow. And I will see you all again soon. If you like this morning's stream, give it a thumbs up or give it a thumbs down. Leave a comment if you're watching this after the fact, and let me know what I can do to improve. And in the meantime, everyone, you stay safe out there. As Purple says, You never know who's going to be knocking at your door next or who's going to be standing next to you. Think about that. You never do. Bye.